Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Schmo Daddy, and I'm going to do a completely different video for you guys today. Yeah, I'm wearing that hat, you know. The reason I'm wearing this hat is because I'm having a very bad hair day, and hair's just a little mess, so... Anyway, here I am in front of the camera. I don't usually do this, but I'm in my comic book room. Still quite a mess, but I've been working on it a little bit. I'm trying to get more organization going on. But anyway, the point of this video is that I think I'm going to sort of talk about my comic book history and some books that I picked out that I will show you and tell you a little bit about my background, how I started collecting. So it's all for fun. Let me take a little drink here. Give me one second. Alright, well, some of my earliest memories of comic books comes from, like, my father. He used to collect a lot, so growing up, sometimes we had money, sometimes we didn't, but it seemed like we always had comic books in the house, you know? One of the earliest comic books I remember seeing of my dad's was Amazing Spider-Man number 76, and I have two copies. I think this is another copy I'd purchased recently, but I have the original one that my dad had, and as a child I remember this is the very first time I ever saw Spider-Man, so it is a pretty nice one to start with, though, because it's actually John Buscema artwork, which is pretty uncommon. He only did about maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 Amazing Spider-Man books in the late 60s. So yeah, another book that I remember a lot in my dad's collection was the Avengers number 80. For some reason, this book stood out to me. I remember my dad particularly liked this book because the Red Wolf character, I don't know. So I still have a penchant to like Red Wolf. I don't know why. He's kind of a very minor, like a C-list character in the Marvel Universe. But anyway, to give you guys some background, anyway, I guess I haven't told you how old I am. First of all, I'm 30 years old, so I was born in 1980. So as you can imagine, being sort of like a Reagan baby, grew up with all those great cartoons. We're talking like, what, G.I. Joe, the Transformers, what else, the Smurfs. This is even before DuckTales. Some of you guys are like, DuckTales? Oh yeah, DuckTales came in late 80s, early 90s, but I'm just trying to think of all that. And, you know, I think even when I was a child I wanted to get much into comic books because my dad was into it, and so I would always ask for Christmas to get some stuff. And I remember getting specifically some Marvel 3-packs. I don't know if you guys remember those. They came like in these little cellophane wrappers. I think you could buy them probably at drugstores or grocery stores. My mom would always get me one for Christmas. And some other examples of early comic books I remember. This is specifically from my dad's collection that he gave me. Fantastic Four. This was right before John Byrne took over. And I believe this is George Perez. Check this out. Yeah, George Perez and Joe Sin. I mean, you can see how beat up this was. As a child, I read the hell out of this. So some of my earliest books were the John Byrne ones, as I was telling you. So here's number 219. I specifically remember reading this one as a child. I remember just seeing that black monster, you know, or whatever the hell it is. It's something to do with the Submariner. I remember, I think it's a throwback to an early Fantastic Four story. It might have been like the first appearance of a Submariner. And I remember specifically that, like the John Byrne run, as I'm telling you. Remember this book, the Exodus story, about the Inhumans looking for a place to move their land because of the pollution on Earth or whatever. And I remember my first introduction to Galactus, besides reading Silver Surfer number 1, which I did as a child. My dad had a copy, and I went through that so many times. It's coverless now, but I remember seeing this. This kind of is a throwback to the first Silver Surfer book, when you see Galactus's hand, you know, and you know the origin of the Silver Surfer. So the power of Galactus has always had me as far as Marvel Comics go. I've always been huge into Galactus. Even my son likes Galactus now. It's funny, passing it down from generation to generation. And I remember getting this book in a Marvel 3-pack. And for some reason, I want to think that this book was in a Marvel 3-pack with it. Hell if I know, they probably were all random and there's no specific order, but I remember these books so much as a child. These aren't the original ones, because if they were the original ones from my childhood, they would have been destroyed by now. But anyway, these are what I'm saying. These two books right here, this Daredevil and this X-Men, were books I'd actually remember purchasing. So I would have been 5 years old, probably getting these for Christmas or persuading my mom to buy these for me. So every time I see this book, I think about that. I don't know why. And this one too. Kind of a silly saber-tooth cover, but great book. Let's see what else we got here. Alright. That's not the book I meant to grab. Oh, so later in life, you know, I mean, I've always been collecting comic books, and, you know, through in high school, I kind of just completely quit. And then in college, I had a little bit of a resurgence. That's when I started getting back in a little bit. Then I kind of quit for a while after college. And then a couple years, maybe about 4 years ago is when I really got serious. But when I was about 12 or 13, I was getting really serious in it. I mean, I would go out of my way to find people that sold vintage comic books. Like, I found this one guy that... he had a flea market that he would travel to Evansville, Indiana, which is a local area. I live in Washington, which is about an hour north of Evansville, and he actually had a trailer next to his house, but it was filled with baseball cards, comic books, and we're talking he had some awesome stuff. And I regret that I didn't pillage it better, because back then I was only looking for certain stuff, and some of the more valuable stuff was probably the stuff that I would just not get. And he would sell these books to me for like $1 a piece, and we're talking, I specifically remember seeing like single-digit X-Men issues in there. Like, we're talking Steve Ditko Spider-Mans, real nice ones, and I wasn't so much into those at the time. I was more interested in the later ones, you know, so I didn't pick up too many of them. But one Steve Ditko Spider-Man I remember getting from that guy is this actual book right here. I still have it, the exact condition, the exact book. Probably paid like $1 or $2 for it, you know. Amazing Spider-Man number 32. And what a book to really start out with. For me, buying my very first Silver Age book at probably age 12, riding my bike to some guy's house, you know, going, knocking on his door saying, hey, you got some comic books you can sell? And he goes out. And this is one of them that I picked out. I don't know why. And when I read it at first, I didn't quite really understand the story and like it as much as a child, but the more you read it, this is like one hell of a story to start with. It's the Master Planner storyline. You know, the Amazing Spider-Man number 31 through 33. Incredible stuff going on. But this is a real dear comic book to me. I would never get rid of this. I mean, if I ever upgrade this book, I'm still keeping this one just because it's just one. I guess what I'm trying to say is all the memory triggers that are associated with comic books. I'm not as eloquently saying as I'd like to, but another early book I remember getting is this book right here. I remember it's one of the first, probably even before that Amazing Spider-Man book. I remember going to like a mall with my aunt, and my aunt would give me Christmas money or something, and she'd want me to buy something useful, you know, not a comic book or anything, any kind of stupid toy. She'd want me to buy something maybe practical, but no, not me. I'd be buying comic books. Remember just rummaging through like a loan box at like a comic book store in the mall, and I remember coming across this book, and it popped to my eye. It was like $4 or $5, and I had to get it. And yeah, what a great book to get. It's a Gene Colan Daredevil. I think the cover is what got me. Just the beautiful colors and just the idea that Daredevil's falling. It says coward, coward, coward. The black and the red. You know, and growing up in a Christian church, and I guess the Daredevil concept just kind of got me. You know, I guess I was trying to rebel a little bit. Oh, Daredevil. If I stir the shit pot for my parents or something. But what a great book. So I guess what I'm getting at is so a lot of books mean certain things to certain people, and to me, I think what it is that gets me into collecting comic books is the idea of just looking back on some of these books and remembering a time or a place in our life.